how does the first Knights of the Old Republic utilize the pattern we mentioned, the Star Wars trilogy pattern and the Star Wars ring theory? So, how would you think that the Knights of the Old Republic, the first one, utilizes the Star Wars trilogy pattern?
In terms of the ring theory, I mean, the big one, obviously, people that are listening to the podcast probably know, but you're talking about you have Revan, who is a Jedi, and then turns to the dark side, and then, is sort of captured by Bastila, redeemed, and then Bastila ends up turning to the dark side and is redeemed by Revan. So it's this, sort of a circular pattern that we have between Revan and Bastila, where they're going around this light side, dark side sort of journey that they're going, sort of rescuing one from the other. And it just keeps kind of repeating itself throughout the story. I mean, that's the big one to me. What do you think in terms of the ring theory? Is that the kind of major one to you, or are there other ones that you see?
I definitely see the Star Wars trilogy pattern, because I would say that Terrace and Dantooine are definitely like a kind of like a hero's journey story. And then I would say, like, when you kind of are searching for the star maps, it's kind of like a bit of a genre, a little bit like Indiana Jones. You're kind of searching for things, and each planet has its own kind of genre flavor. And then I would say at the end, like, you definitely have to make a choice as the player character to see if you're going to be on the light side or the dark side, and then you have the chance to save Juhani from the dark side, and you have the choice to save Bastila from the dark side. So I definitely do see the Star Wars trilogy pattern in KOTOR, and then I do think that there definitely is a ring theory in KOTOR, and I don't know if anyone was, like, consciously, like, making that choice while they were writing the story, but I don't think that doesn't mean that it's not there. I just think it means it's a good work of fiction, because I definitely do see the ring theory in the game, and maybe this sounds self-congratulatory, but, like, and also in our proposed trilogy.
Sure, yeah.
So.
Well, I think so the way Knights of the Old Republic is presented, right? It's very much just kind of this hero's journey tale that we see in A New Hope. So it's very much presented in the same way that Star Wars, gets kind of kicked off here as this sort of hero's journey. So I think that they were at least kind of, pivoting off of the way that A New Hope was, the way that George Lucas was telling stories, the way that, stories have been told for, a super long time, right? Is to get this story off the ground. It seems to make sense to me. And then, yeah, as far as the ring theory goes, yeah, there's a lot of circular patterns, in our characters. I'd mentioned Revan and Bastila, but, there are also some other kind of, circular sort of storylines going on. A couple that I had written down here are Zalbar. So he's like the chieftain's son. He leaves or is cast out. He returns, kind of assumes his leadership, but then he leaves again and kind of returns, right on the same kind of circular journey that we see in some heroes' tales and maybe in some of these ring theory type of things.
Yeah, I think you can definitely make the argument that there is the ring theory at work for a lot of characters. I think they all have some pretty good arcs. Carth has a good arc as well. Mission. I wanted to bring up this one comment by 44 Julian, who says, KOTOR 1 has a good versus evil storyline similar to the original trilogy, but KOTOR 2 is much more nuanced like the prequel trilogy. And I definitely think that the first KOTOR was was made to be like parallel a lot of the original trilogy, which I think if they ever did adapt it into a show or a trilogy, I would maybe like pare down the overt references. I would say, like, just so like people aren't quoting like word for word like a certain scene in A New Hope, like, because I would worry that people would look at the camera and be like, we're referencing this scene from A New Hope, you know, just so
Yeah.
you YouTubers can put this in an Easter egg video, you know. And it's like, no, please, no.
Yeah, but there are a couple of other characters here that I had. So in addition to Zalbar, you have Jolie, who's kind of on this circular journey, right? So he was a Jedi student, and then a Jedi teacher, and then he went into isolation, and then he's back with our group as a Jedi teacher, kind of making that, and then kind of the big one in terms of like this circular narrative for me is Malik and Revan, right? So Malik is a Jedi with Revan, and he's like a reluctant follower, and then he's kind of embracing this, following of Revan, and then they have the downfall of Revan, and then he's kind of embracing his new role. Is that so? That to me is a really interesting kind of circular narrative for Malik in this story as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of good character arcs, and I can't wait to even dive into Knights of the Old Republic 2, because there are so many great characters and arcs in that game. It's almost like a literature course, you know? So what I've written down for the traditional Star Wars trilogy pattern, so not the ring theory. So the first part is Revan falls to the dark side. Bastila spares a fallen Revan. A bond is formed. Bastila falls to the dark side. Revan spares a fallen Bastila. And then the bond is re-engaged. And then for the ring theory, I'm kind of looking at it through the lens of like what a third film in our proposed trilogy would be. And I would start it in median res, which means in the middle of things. And I'm just about done with Barry Strauss's The Trojan War. And I'm about to read Stephen Fry's Troy. So as you can see, like I really, branch out and read a wide variety. But I always have like the Iliad, the Odyssey, and the Aeneid on my mind. What these, like, all have in common, like the Iliad, the Odyssey, and the Aeneid, they all start like in the middle of the story. Like if you read the Odyssey, it doesn't start in chronological order. It starts on one island, and then Odysseus will recount how he got to that point at a banquet. And then the Iliad doesn't show you the whole 10 years of the war. It starts like, in the 9th year. I believe it's the 9th year. It could be the 10th year, but and then it kind of tells the whole story of the war, but mostly just like the middle of it. And then the Aeneid, it kind of copies, lovingly plagiarizes the Odyssey, and Aeneas tells how he had to leave a fallen Troy and how they got to Carthage, and then you see him complete his destiny. So a lot of epics all over the world begin in the middle of things. And then how I would begin, the third film, is in the middle of things as well. And it would begin on Revan's flagship. So it would be a little bit of a flashback. And Star Wars doesn't do that a lot, but I feel like this would be something different. And you're kind of seeing how the bond is formed. And I think this would be the best placement for that. So you would see the Jedi Strike team, and you'd see a Padawan Bastila who's going up against a Sith Lord, even though she's talented and has battle meditation. It's kind of is this gonna kill her, And then a lot of the Jedi around her fall, and she's gonna go toe to toe with a Dark Lord of the Sith, but then unexpectedly, like no one's expecting, the Spanish Inquisition, but Malik like shoots on Revan, and then you're kind of like, what? And then like you see Bastila like kind of consciously make this choice to save Revan, but then it kind of forms a bond between them, and I think that would be good to see. And then I would kind of like have like you kind of see how everyone ended up on the Endar Spire. I think you would see the Masters kind of like complete the job, but also kind of like doing another job. They're like that Bastila started, because I think like Bastila's like we can save this Sith Lord, and perhaps he'll find redemption. And it's like, that's great, but we also kind of want to give him a new identity and have him find some maps for us. But you'll be in charge of the mission, and you're gonna go along with this because you're a Padawan and you're gonna do what we say. And she'd probably be like, this seems morally questionable, but like she would go along with it. Then you'd kind of see like Revan become a new person, and it would be brief kind of moments, like kind of more impressionistic. But then I think you would maybe see like Bastila like talking to a Trask Ulgo, a fan favorite, and saying like, I don't know if she would necessarily tell Trask that he was Darth Revan, but maybe she would say like, he's important to me, watch out for him. And that's why you see like Trask Ulgo protect Revan and like go against like all odds, because like he was kind of in on it. Like I think that gives it an interesting layer. And then like I think like you'd kind of see Bastila from afar. Like Revan doesn't see her, but she sees him and is kind of just like aware and like just kind of keeping an eye on him. And then you'd kind of see like the Endar Spire fall under attack, and then you'd see like maybe Revan or Bastila, probably Revan, they'll kind of like wake up and like, because it's all kind of like making sense and he's remembering. So that's how I would start out the film. So that would be the A, kind of like Revan's flagship. You kind of see like what got you to that point. It's in median res, and then he has to find the last star map on Korriban, and he kind of has to like come to terms with the dark side, like knowing who he is, like making a synthesis of his identity. Like he has a reprogrammed identity, he has who he used to be and who he is now, knowing everything. And so I think it would be kind of like, this film would be like a redemption, not just for Bastila, but also like, it's kind of like Revan is reclaiming himself, who he wants to be. It's not necessarily who the council wants him to be. It's not like who he used to be as Dark Lord of the Sith, but he's becoming a better person, So like Korriban would be B in my mind. And then when he knows everything, like all the star maps, that's when they go to the unknown world, aka Lihan. And I would see this as kind of the midpoint, so it's kind of like a squiggly line B, So I would see this like ABBA pattern. So Lihan would be the midpoint, where it's like he knows everything, and then he's presented with the choice, like from Bastila, who's on the dark side now, like, you could join me, and then he would say no from a canonical standpoint, and then he would face Bastila and Malik again. Not in the same battle, but I'm just kind of like paraphrasing here. And then redeem Bastila, and that would be squiggly line A, So A, B, B, A, and then a happy ending. It's kind of like, in my mind, it's like bond formed, and then Kashyyyk, Lihan choice, and then Starforge, bond re-engaged, aka you have Revan's flagship, bond formed, Korriban, Lihan. I would say that's the low point, and the bond forming on Revan's flagship was the high point. And then Lihan is the low point, because I feel like the bond mates, the Force Dyad, are kind of like not on the same team, you know, and there's drama to be had. And then the Starforge,
Yeah.
and then they're on the same team again. They're redeemed and fairy tale ending, you know, and then it's a high point. So it's kind of like a circle or a ring, hence the ring theory, which is kind of like a hero's journey. And yeah, so what do you think of that?
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. So if you look at the ring theory, one of kind of the important bits of it is that as you go, you know, everything's kind of connected, and as you go around the ring, everything kind of starts to mirror everything, and then it comes back together. So that's the big thing kind of with this Revan and Bastila arc, right? So you have them together. Bastila's captured Revan, starting to redeem Revan, and then as it goes along, they're kind of mirroring each other, right? So you have, you know, Bastila turning towards the dark side on one side, Revan turning towards the dark side on the other side, and then it comes back together, and it's like the opposite, right? So basically, the story goes is that Revan, you know, was a Sith Lord turned by Bastila, and then at the end, Revan is the Jedi, and he's turning Bastila back. So I think that, you know, playing through our proposed film and the way you just laid it out, yeah, it makes a lot of sense in terms of the ring theory, because you're trying to, like I said, you're trying to make the story kind of circular, but also kind of mirror itself as you go around the circle, which is, yeah, really interesting. And I think that they do a really good job of it in the game and in the, you know, film we're proposing. So I think that that's really great.
Yeah, I mean, even like while we were trying to go through like each film in the proposed trilogy, I think we're always kind of cognizant of the hero's journey and kind of like parallelism. That's kind of hard to say. English is hard, but so like in our first like film in the proposed trilogy, it's like Endar Spire, and then Terrace is like a large jungle of a city, and then Dantooine is the midpoint breaking it up, and then Kashyyyk is like a huge city in a jungle, and like Terrace is a tragedy. Kashyyyk kind of ends more hopeful and heroic. And then with the second film, where the first like was kind of like a hero's journey for a lot of the crew, this one is kind of more like inspired by like, I don't know, did we kind of like say like spy films, war films, Cold War films?
Yeah, it's a little bit more of a somber tone where you're trying to sort of navigate your way through the war, right? It's not as much of a hero's journey as much of it is kind of a
yeah,
like just kind of navigating this world that we're in.
Yeah, it's kind of like the heroes, the Ebonhawk crew are trying to find the secrets underneath everything, you know, like star maps and everything, like find hidden star maps on Tatooine and the Dune Sea, and then like in a literal sea on Manon, you know, but like so you have like Tatooine a desert, and then Manon an ocean planet, but like the ultimate secret are the secrets everyone's kind of keeping from each other, and the ultimate reveal that Revan is literally Revan, you know, which is revealed on the Leviathan. And that's kind of like, I guess, like the grenade in the middle of our trilogy that like, that's kind of like the Luke having Vader as a father, kind of like, without that twist, Return of the Jedi would literally just be another blow up the Death Star movie, and there's not really character motivation there, you know? So
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, and like without Revan being Revan, it's kind of just like, cool, now he took down Darth Malak, and like, who cares, you know? So it's good that Revan was Revan. Of course, in the third film, it's like the Revan flagship flashback, and then Korriban, Lihan, Starforge, High Point. So yeah, that's how I see it. So I guess the audience could decide what they think, and they can even add, you know, like what what they think, and I think more will come to light in the future, because I don't think anyone has really kind of laid out like a ring theory pattern for KOTOR that I know of. I couldn't find anything, but
Yeah, I did a little bit of looking and I didn't see anything that was laid out. But I think that the, kind of first trilogy of our films, or the way that the game is laid out, it seems like it is, just primed for having some sort of, a kind of mirror side of the ring told about it. So
yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about Star Wars. It has a mythic structure, it's mythic storytelling, and just storytelling in general. Like, these patterns, they come from all of us, like the collective unconscious culture. They come from each of us individually. So, I don't know, like, that's why I love stories so much. They're just magical, and they're all unique, but they all kind of have, like, a similar blueprint.
yeah, it's fun to kind of look and dissect sort of these story elements of, things like KOTOR, things like Star Wars, stuff like that is pretty fun.
Yeah. And one thing I realized, maybe too late, maybe it's not too late, is we should have had a sponsor for, like, Star Wars jewelry sponsor for this episode, because
yeah.
it's a ring theory. Maybe it's not too late. Maybe we can work with it, but
we need a Star Wars ring.
Yeah.
Or a KOTOR ring for sure.
As you know, we're always open to feedback and comments. So if you can find, like, patterns in KOTOR or KOTOR 2 that kind of pertain to, like, the Star Wars trilogy pattern or the ring theory, let us know, because we always love learning, and we're KOTOR nerds.
So that kind of wraps up what we, kind of think about the ring theory in terms of Star Wars and how it would apply to Knights of the Old Republic and our, proposed cinematic adaptation to it. And we got this from the prequel Strike Back, which is a really great film, and we recommend that everyone check it out. It's available on, iTunes, Amazon. It's available on their website, which is prequelstrikeback.com. And we actually did a watch along of this film, and we have that available on our Patreon, which is at patreon.com/EvanHawk So if you get this film and you want to watch it along with us, we'd recommend doing that, because it was a lot of fun and really interesting and a good time. So definitely go check that out.
Yeah, and you can find the link to our Patreon in my bio, Ebon Hawk Podcast on Instagram, and just click the milkshake link in the bio, and you can swipe left and find all of our links. So may the force be with you. We'll be back soon. Bye for now.